When it comes to power, Koby is one of the most disputed characters in the series. He's either Garp level and can one-shot any first commander, yes, that's an actual take, or he's a fodder marine captain who gets beaten by Nami. I have seen no in-between. Today though, I'll try to find it. I'm not gonna downplay him insanely or use any crazy narrative to say he can beat an admiral or something. I'm going off the facts we know and Koby's own journey up to this point. So of course, we have to start from the beginning. Yes, the very beginning. As we know, Koby is the first ally Luffy had in his adventure. It wasn't always like this though. See, the boy had been slaving away on a pirate crew for the past 2 years. He planned to make an escape though, due to how menacing the captain Alvida was. By the time Koby met Luffy, he basically gave up. He was even willing to give the boat he had been crafting to Luffy. In response, Straw Hat states Koby is pathetic and he doesn't like him, because why would he? Why would Luffy waste his time on someone who isn't even brave enough to save themselves, especially when he's trying to become Pirate King? Koby is in shock at this prospect. King of the Pirates is the goal of almost every crew, plus those who aren't aiming for it are still adversaries. Koby can't fathom Luffy's words until he hears the most important sentence in his life. Because it's my dream, and that's why I won't mind dying for it. Death, the end, the most resolute devotion you could give to a goal. These words flip a switch in Koby's head, pushing him to say something he never would have before. If I'm willing to die, will I become a marine? He says this to a pirate in a forest surrounded by pirates who hear him. And although Koby almost gets checked by Alvida, he doubles down despite knowing she'll kill him, calling her a fat, ugly bitch. Of course, Luffy, seeing Koby's resolve, steamrolls Alvida easily, demanding a ship for him and his new friend. Aww. Now you may be asking, why is this important? I thought this was a power scaling video, but what a lot of meatheads don't realize is that the mentality / emotions of a One Piece character plays a big role in how powerful they are. Luffy speaking on his devotion put Koby on the highest level. He is now willing to put his life on the line to simply reach his goal, something most in this world aren't going to do. Many people liken him to Usopp because they're both cowards who are pushed into doing big things, but that's so not true. Koby actually follows Luffy's mentality, risking his life multiple times. He tanks a bullet trying to free Zoro, he saves Helmeppo when he might be discharged for doing so, he frees the prisoners of Pirate Island despite being able to escape by himself. Koby stops a Kainu from completing his mission, even though he saw exactly what happened to the last guy who tried to do that. Why? Because this is all what a Marine would do, and Koby is willing to stake his life on it. Usopp does not once go there, in fact he frowns upon people who act as such, calling them stupid. It's why he barely grows, he remains a coward to this day. These two are not the same, yet simultaneously, Koby is not Luffy. He's not confident enough to fight an admiral right after he barely defeated a warlord. He's not stubborn enough to go against an unstoppable force just to get stronger. However, what Koby does possess is the same determination as Luffy, and due to how the power system works, he is favored in the aspect of Haki. A lot of people see Honesty Impact as just a cheap plot power-up, but hopefully you can understand at this point that due to his willingness to go the furthest distance, Koby is rewarded by the system just like every other good Haki user. Also, Luffy had a bunch of cheap power-ups himself, and second, it's less surprising when we look at Koby's actual growth. Now obviously in his first appearance, he doesn't really do much. Yes, Koby survived a bullet to the shoulder, but this is more of a starting point for his development. In his introduction, Koby couldn't believe anyone could beat Alvida, yet by the end of the arc, he punches Luffy to make it seem as if they were enemies. Again, it just shows more character growth, but it doesn't stop there. That's when we get into probably the most important cover story in the series. Both Koby and Helmeppo enlist, with them starting out as chore boys. Chore boys, chore boys, chore boys, chore boys. We can see multiple times, even in this position, Koby still gives his best effort. As mentioned earlier, he saves Helmeppo from a hostage situation despite being inches away from death and disobeying orders. However, this commitment actually pays off for him as Garp takes both of the boys under his wing. Garp, like, you know, Vice Admiral Garp, the guy that stalemated the Pirate King. Boruto's dad. From here, the rest is history. Both recruits train intensely day and night. But even in these conditions, Koby still works 200 times harder than everybody else. Not only does he go through Garp's training, but also punches the battleship bags just like the Vice Admiral and Aokiji did. We also know, due to his design, he's been doing this since pretty much day one of Garp taking them to headquarters. Then on top of all that, Garp states himself Koby learns fast despite being injured. This is insane, yet the audience wouldn't know how quick his growth was until Eni's lobby. It's nothing much, but here we get Koby and Helmeppo's reintroduction, where they're actually able to pressure base Luffy and Zoro. Now, they get no diffed, but 3 things. 1, we see Koby display Soru to dodge Luffy's punch. A reminder that Soru is one of the Rokushiki techniques used by CP9, described as a superhuman ability. 2, Luffy and Zoro are not the same as they were in East Blue. Not only did they grow from the fights in Alabasta, but also cliff the entire series during Eni's lobby. The same Luffy that beat Enel went from matching Blueno in base form to equaling Rob Lucci in base form. Lucci at the time was 5 times stronger than Blueno, meaning Luffy just got that much greater. For reference, Lucci displays a 5 times difference when he deletes Frankie, meaning Luffy would do the same to any previous opponent in base. Zoro's growth is similar, although to a lesser extent. So even though Koby and Helmeppo got bodied, it is extremely impressive that they were able to press these two. The third point to mention is the time gap. Now, it's never explicitly stated, but some have calculated the timeline of Luffy's journey. Link in the description, but if we go by their logic, then Koby went from weaker than any Straw Hat as a kid to drawing blood from a 300 million bounty Luffy in a month and a half. About 49 days to be exact, though if you don't want to follow this reasoning, you still have to acknowledge the time between Romance Dawn and Eni's lobby is not that big. I don't think it's a stretch to say Koby would beat some of the Straw Hats around this time. In theory, he should be a match for East Blue Luffy, or possibly some of the villains beyond, such as certain Sand or Lightning Men. I say this not only because Helmeppo has a longer clash with Zoro, but also because of how Soru itself works. There is an argument to be made that Koby being able to use Soru makes him automatically greater than other characters. It's flimsy though, so I'm not going to spout nonsense here. My overall point is to show how crazy his development is. Luffy as a kid could already beat up adults, but needed 7 years of training to be the strongest in East Blue. Koby started out weaker, then closed the gap in less than 2 months. That honesty impact is starting to seem a little less cheap, eh? Also, after getting clapped by Luffy, we get Koby declaring his goal of being an admiral. You may think it contradicts what he did during Marineford, but again, Koby's actual dream is being a good marine who saves lives. Just like how Luffy wants to be the pirate king to be the most free, Koby aims to be an admiral to be the best marine he can. I already talked about the Akainu moment when we spoke on his character, and the only other thing he does in terms of combat is get KO'd by Luffy with no effort. However, his experience in the war also caused him to awaken observation haki. So to speak on that, we have to move on to post-time skip. Now, after the 2 years, it seems Koby has kinda fell off. His growth was nowhere near what it was PTS, but I don't know, maybe it could have been newbie gains or something. Though, what happens over the time skip is impressive. Of course, we all know Koby awakened observation during the war, and modern day, it seems to be his best attribute. He also most likely learned armament haki by supposedly training with Garp. Remember, Rayleigh states it takes a long time to learn the basics of haki, but since Luffy was already skilled, it would only take 2 years. Koby seems to have performed the same feat whilst also taking on other missions and mastering the Rokushiki techniques. Now he has access to speed enhancement, but also flight, range slashes, durability boosts, among other things. He may also have some sort of blue walk like Sanji, as in Koby's reappearance, he stops a torpedo while fully submerged the whole time. The most notable event for him during the time skip was the Rocky Port incident. Koby's actions specifically aren't known, however we do know he came out of this event revered as a hero, much like Garp. We can also speak on his dedication to the SWORD organization. SWORD is a group of Marines who choose to ignore direct orders from HQ, instead taking matters into their own hands. Because oftentimes, HQ bans sailors from engaging in areas such as a Yonko's territory. In exchange, the Navy can cut SWORD members loose at any point. Koby's commitment to this group shows where his ideologies lie, as he's willing to risk his own livelihood to to save others. We can see the repercussions of this when he is captured by Blackbeard with no plan for his rescue. Around this time, Koby probably wasn't that strong either. He's now a Navy captain, which doesn't really mean much. It's an impressive rank to reach, though we see him admit inferiority to Boa Hancock, who's like Scabbard's level, and he's most likely weaker than the Vice Admiral who was sent with him to Amazon Lily. Even if we did assume Koby was on par with a Vice Admiral at this point, it doesn't mean anything as the mid-tier Straw Hats can one-shot them. Of course though, this was all before his crowning achievement. The most controversial attack in the One Piece fanbase, Honesty Impact, is very annoying to talk about. I hope by now you can understand from a narrative view, this moment isn't really an ass pull. I already talked about Koby's determination, and Honesty Impact is just an extension of that. It's how the One Piece power system works. Time and time again, we can see it favors those who go beyond their limits despite the risk. Now, from a power perspective, this strike means really nothing. First off, a destructive standpoint. Many will immediately compare Honesty to Zoro cutting Pika, or upscale it to say, Koby destroyed an entire island! However, even if it is an island level feat, that's pretty much it. We see in Thriller Bark, Moria is able to casually split an island with no named attack. It's impressive with regards to how much was destroyed, though for how much damage it actually does to other characters, everyone in post time skip should be able to tank this. They are all stronger than Luffy, who can hurt this Moria, who should be able to take his own hits. So no, just because Koby split an island doesn't mean he can one-shot everyone. Which leads us to point number 2, an attack potency standpoint. I never thought I would be talking about Pizarro's abilities extensively, but it's 2024, look how far we've come. Pizarro has the Shima Shima no Mi, an ability allowing him to control islands, and it is described as the higher level of Pika's Devil Fruit. So there are two ways to look at this. Interpretation A, Pizarro is actually affected by the attack potency of whoever hits the island. This would mean Koby and Garp did about the same damage to him as shown by Pizarro's injuries, which flat out means Koby is Garp level, at least in terms of AP, and can one-shot Zoro or anybody weaker than him. By that logic, Koby would also be Gear 5 level, capable of fighting with other top tiers like Shanks or Kaido. Interpretation B, Pizarro isn't affected by the opponent's attack potency and takes damage similar to the island. For example, Garp and Koby's moves could have the same destructive range, however even if Garp is hitting harder, Pizarro will still take the same damage. This is the most likely interpretation because first off, he doesn't take the same toll from the hits the island receives. Like, are we really gonna say Garp's named attack to the face is just gonna give him a bloody nose? Like, come on. And second, if we compare the island fruit to Pika's ability, it seems quite the same. When Pika finally confronted Zoro, he did not seem like he was reaving from getting his body cut into pieces, nor did it seem like he was barely recovering from one of Zoro's strongest attacks. Pika also states cutting the stone won't defeat him. Applying all this logic to Pizarro means just because Koby and Garp did similar damage to his main body doesn't mean they have equal attack potency. But of course, there is one more part of Honesty Impact we have to cover. What haki did Koby use? There are a few different answers to this depending on who your favorite character is, because people who stand Conqueror's haki users are very stingy about who should be one. For instance, when bringing up the idea of Sanji having King's haki to a Zoro fan, they will vehemently deny it. They literally just want their character to be more special one, and it also doesn't help many of the most popular figures in the series are Conquerors. So basically, a large part of the community is against Koby having Conqueror's haki, especially at the advanced level. Now yes, Honesty Impact could just be a very big advanced armament attack, sure, but let me offer this. Koby is one of the few in this world who are willing to die for even just their ideals. Compare that to Luffy, Zoro, Kid, Ace, Roger, Whitebeard, Shanks. In terms of sheer determination, he stacks up to them. He may not have their insane confidence or obstinance, however he does ride on the same core belief that they do. Combine all said with Honesty Impact mimicking Galaxy Impact and Advanced Conqueror's attack. In addition, Koby seems to be the Garp to Luffy's Roger. In fact, that's exactly where his goal is taking him. If Koby wants to even fight with Luffy, he'll need the ability only a handful in this world possess, which is why he should have Conqueror's haki. I know some of y'all are going to be like, oh, well, it makes no sense. Now, does Honesty Impact make Koby first commander level? No. Advanced Conqueror's haki does give characters an overall stats increase, In fact, for Luffy, it seems to be an even higher amp than Gear 4. If you assume that, and assume Koby is already Vice Admiral tier, then he'd be deadass like Toby Roppo level, I guess. But all that was very headcanon-y, so don't take it as fact. Also, before we move on to the conclusion, I want to say just because the Vivre card doesn't state he has Conquerors, doesn't mean it's confirmed he doesn't have it. Put that on Allah! Because by that logic, Zoro doesn't have it either. Plus, Garp didn't have it in his first Vivre card, so yeah. In conclusion, how strong is Koby? While he started out as a meek child with no willpower, we see after the words given to him by Luffy, he was changed into something far greater. With Garp's training and his determination to exceed it, he achieved a level of strength it takes others years to in only a couple months. Koby carries on this growth during the time skip, mastering superhuman abilities as well as basic Haki usage. Add on awakening multiple versions of Haki in the heat of battle due to his resolve, plus his willingness to put his life on the line. While I highly doubt he's Garp level right now, Koby needs to and will reach said tier of strength if he is going to stop the future Pirate King.